Black Widow was always going to have its work cut out for it. In addition to being the first and only woman among the original Avengers, Marvel chose to sideline her solo film for way too long. Instead of fleshing out Natasha's backstory years ago, they gave us Captain Marvel, a cringe-inducing snooze festival that critics loved but everyone else seemed to hate. Link in description for my ranking of the MCU that I did some time ago. So despite waiting way too long and shackling Black Widow with all the baggage of a lengthy delay, does the movie skyrocket the Marvel Cinematic Universe to new heights? No, not really. Thank you so much for checking out the review. Before we get started, click on that red subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you know whenever I post a new piece of content. The character of Natasha Romanoff / Black Widow was introduced in Iron Man 2 way back in 2010. Since that film's release, we have seen 20 additional movies, the recasting of Bruce Banner, solo film introductions of Thor, Ant-Man, Doctor Strange, Black Panther, and Captain Marvel, the completed character arc of Captain America, the death of Tony Stark, the introduction and implementation of the Guardians of the Galaxy, Spider-Man's joining of the MCU along with 2 solo films, Thanos wiping out half of all life in the universe, culminating in a half-decade time jump ending with the most important event in the history of the world, and the sacrificial death of Black Widow herself. To say that Marvel has done a huge disservice to this character is a massive understatement. Scarlett Johansson has done an outstanding job with the character, and Marvel has basically laughed in her face the entire time while pretending to give a crap about women's issues by giving a deeply unlikable Brie Larson her own solo film. 11 years. That's how long it's been since Black Widow first appeared. I'm pointing this out because guess how long it took to write the first draft of the Black Widow film script? 11 days. Not 11 weeks or 11 months, 11 days. Marvel had 11 years to flesh out the backstory of a beloved character, and the end result is a script that was written in 11 days. Sandwiched in the MCU timeline between Captain America Civil War and Black Panther, Black Widow tries hard to tell a socially aware story while also being a spy thriller, while also being a family drama, while also being an action movie, while also introducing its own version of a supervillain, while also having characters that quip and joke every 35.8 seconds. The film starts off relatively well with a look back on Natasha's deep undercover life as a child with her parents in the United States Midwest. This is followed up by a series of awesome action set pieces bringing us to the modern day and introducing the audience to Natasha's sister, Yelena, played by Florence Pugh. At some point after all of the violent sequences die down and make way for character introductions and plot explanations, Black Widow becomes the one thing a movie must never be: boring. Some of this, and I mean a very little of this, can be attributed to Natasha's fate, as we've known for the last 2 years what happens to her in the end. This means that no amount of dialogue that thinks it's clever can make up for what happened in Endgame. We know every single thing that happens to Natasha Romanoff leading up to her death from here on out. This makes the entire affair feel rather pointless. There's things that can be done to mitigate this, but Black Widow doesn't have the tension, stakes, or characters to make up for it. David Harbour and Rachel Weisz play Yelena and Natasha's Russian surrogate parents Alexei and Milena. While there's nothing particularly wrong with either portrayal, their character motivations appear all over the map. The script wants to show us that they're both capable of redemption, but don't be mistaken, both of these people are monsters. As intricate parts of the Soviet Union spy apparatus, they did monstrous things for an evil empirical nation that murdered millions of its own people in cold blood. The movie largely avoids this particular detail altogether, instead focusing on Alexei's life as the Red Guardian, the Soviet version of Captain America. It's strange to see this character retconned in the MCU, but it's not really a big deal. There is one place where Black Widow falls completely on its face, and that's with the villains. Taskmaster is pretty awesome when mimicking the fighting styles of Black Panther and Captain America, but then disappears during the middle of the movie only to reappear at the end when their true identity is revealed. This reveal is telegraphed very early in the film, and it was not the least bit surprising. It's disappointing to introduce a unique and interesting new villain, only for their identity reveal to be mismanaged so clumsily. I have a similar complaint when it comes to the creator of the Red Room, former Soviet General Dreykov, played by Winston. According to this movie, he created the Black Widow program, and his mind-controlling female army has been overthrowing countries and working in secret for decades, with absolutely nobody knowing about them. This was kind of done before with Hydra's infiltration of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Captain America the Winter Soldier, but Black Widow only explains any of this in the last 20 minutes and then it's over. While I appreciate the desire of the filmmakers to avoid a big plan for world domination that's thwarted by the good guys at the last second, your movie has to give me something to care about. While the gripes I have with Black Widow are many, it excels with the performances of its two female lead roles. Scarlett Johansson and Florence Pugh are great here, with wonderful chemistry, honest interactions, and a couple of running gags that are sure to please audiences. Johansson has been a known quantity for many years, but Pugh has rapidly ascended to stardom over the last few. Her star-making turn came in 2019's movie about a Swedish cult, Midsummer, and it's great to see her rewarded with a starring role in the MCU. Pugh brings a wealth of emotive range and should be a force to reckon with for many years to come. Black Widow isn't a great Marvel movie, and it's certainly not an awful one. It's somewhere in the middling middle, content with sticking to the company line, hitting all the necessary jokes, emotional beats, and action sequences required in order for Disney to keep making more of these movies. I'm interested to see where exactly the MCU goes from here. We've essentially had a year away from these films since 2020 was a wash. Black Widow does very little to inject new life into the MCU, probably because Infinity War and Endgame set the bar so high. Thanks so much for checking out the review. If you enjoyed it or found it helpful, please consider subscribing. You can also like and share the video since that tells YouTube it's worth promoting. Hit me up down in the comments, sound off, let me know what you think, and I will see you next Wednesday at 9 a.m.